Hello, this is Julie Robinson with Pink Mud Art Studio, and today we're going to be painting the magical fall forest. This one was a lot of fun to paint, and I hope you enjoy painting it with me. It is a lot of dots, a lot of detail, so you just have patience and have fun. It's very a relaxing, kind of therapeutic painting. And my rule is don't judge your painting in the beginning. Wait until you're completely done and you can step back and really look at what you've done so your face isn't like right up in it for the next hour. And then you're allowed to judge your painting. This should be a lot of fun though. So the first thing we're going to do is start out with an outline. So this is a tracer. It's a pretty basic design. You could, if you've done a lot of drawing, you could freehand this, but I'm going to do this because this could be for someone who's never painted before and that is a beginner drawing and painting. So I'm just going to grab a pencil. So with carbon paper, you're going to want to make sure that your shiny side of the carbon paper is down, face down. And you might even want to do a little mark to make sure that it's working, that you have the right side. And then this is just one sheet. I haven't yet made the tracers for the larger canvases, but you might be at a point where I have already done that. And if you have a larger tracer, just match them up, tape them together, and center them and line them up with all the edges. Okay, so you can start wherever you want. I'm going to start with the trees. I'm going to just do the center of each tree. And I'm keeping, I'm keeping my hand firm so it doesn't move around. Okay. All right. Okay. So with these branches, they are staggered. So that means there's one and then the next one is a little bit lower. And then this one's a little bit lower and this one's a little bit lower. But if you notice the shape, they go out and then they come in. So they start getting a little bit longer. That's about the longest one right there in the center. Then they start getting a little shorter, like they do at the top. But they don't get quite as short as they get at the top. They're growing out from the bottom of the tree. So we're going to do the same thing with this side. And don't worry if the lines are crossing over other lines, because all of this is going to be painted over. If you have already traced this out and you're just now watching the video, you can go to the next step, which is either step 1 or 2. I'm not sure if I counted tracing as step 1 or not. I think I did. So you would just go on to step 2. But if you're still with me, the best thing to do is just to watch me do an entire step and then pause it and then do the step yourself. And if you are struggling with it or you think you missed a spot, you can rewind and go back. Okay, now I'm going to trace where the river goes. Right to the edge of the page. And I'm going to place where the rock is. And these little lines is where the water is coming, it's just dropping down a level. And I'm placing the rocks on the side of the river. And then these dots are showing me where some of the bushes are, or some of the leaves under the trees. And when you first look at this, it might look a little bit confusing, but as you follow me through the tutorial, I'm going to show you exactly where we're putting color. We're going to block in a lot of color first, so it won't be confusing at all. Okay, I think I have all the lines in my trees, so I can take it off, and we'll go ahead and set that aside. And we'll go on to step 2. Before we get to step 2, I'm going to trace my trees with a Sharpie because I'm going to be painting over the trees with my sunset background. So if you bought one of my kits, you will have one of these little cute little Sharpie pens. I think they work better than regular Sharpies. So there's no trick to these trees. They're pretty straightforward. We're not doing a multitude of different trees in a forest. It's a very patterned style painting. And then I'm going to draw the sides of the river here. And the rock. And I'm just going to dot my lines . Okay. So I have a variety of colors. I'm not sure I'm going to use them all, but I've put a lot of bright colors on here. We have violet, ultramarine blue, magenta, ochre, white, sap green, spring green. I'll say that 5 times really fast. Burnt sienna, orange, lemon yellow, and black. So the way I get a lot of these lighter colors is I'll mix just white to make them lighter, or maybe like with some of the greens, mix a little yellow in them to brighten them up. So we're going to play around with these colors. We're going to start with our 1/2-inch brush, getting it wet, and we're going to pick up some of the magenta, and we are just going to go back and forth across the top of the canvas. Long strokes, not little whippy strokes, but long strokes back and forth. Don't let your brush get too dry. Make sure that it stays wet. I'm lifting it up, so I hope you can see all this. I'm trying not to paint my little signboard here, although I do that a lot. So I'm going to dip my brush in the cup again and just kind of get this section underneath here, because these are really dry boards, just to get this section wet. And you can see just by putting water on it, it's almost like a watercolor. It is thinning it out, but lightening the color. And I'm going to grab some of this white, and I'm going to blend white right up into this magenta color. And I'm just going back and forth, a little magenta, a little bit of white, until I get a nice blended gradation of color. A little bit more water. One thing that's good about acrylic is that it dries really fast. One thing bad about acrylic is that it dries really fast. So it depends on what you're trying to do. If you are trying to blend colors, you have to keep your brush wet or keep your paint thick, you know, if you're trying to blend it, because you want to keep your colors wet in order to blend with each other. So I'm going to blend a little bit of ultramarine violet, but I don't want it quite that dark. So if you have this ultramarine violet, not ultramarine, just violet. If you have violet, which you should if you have one of my kits, we're going to grab a little bit of white to lighten that. I just don't want it quite that dark. And I'm still going to lighten it even more. Okay, so this is going to go down into this tree line. So we're going to make our horizon like right across this river edge, even though you can see where we're going to have bushes in front of it, but I still want this to be in our background. So we're going to go all the way to the bottom with the light violet that we created, but it's actually going to be the darkest part of our violet. Now, as we blend up into the magenta, just keep going back and forth, these long strokes. I'm going to get a little bit of water on my brush and grab a little bit of white, just white by itself, and blend that into this violet. And I'm blending up into the magenta. And I'm going to bring it down a little bit just to smooth out the colors. So try this with the white, the violet, and the magenta. Some magenta up here. So it's drying really fast. So we have with the white, it gives us a little hazy background, like this could be the dawn even. I'm going to just give a little bit more, maybe even a touch of, well, I don't want to use yellow because yellow and purple make gray. So I don't want it to be gray. So now with your picture, this is your painting, so you can play with it and see what colors you like the best. More magenta or more violet. Just be careful not to add, I mean, if you want to add whatever colors you want in your sunset, you can. It's your painting. But as a word of advisement, you don't want to mix purple and yellow or orange and blue, any colors like that, because they will turn gray. It will make your sunset gray. And I'm going to do a little bit deeper magenta, almost like a red color. Okay, and I'm going to grab a tiny bit of blue and put that at the very, very base down here. I just want that deeper forest green color. So what I'm doing is I'm blending the colors actually on my plate and then blending them between each other because it's drying so quickly. So just wet my brush again. Okay, that's pretty good there. So you do have to work this a little bit back and forth until you get the right blending that you want. So just go all the way from one side to the other. Okay. Okay, go ahead and rinse your brush. And that should be good for the background of our sunset. Okay. Step 3, we're going to clean our brush and we're going to use sap green mixed with a dot of black. So we want a nice dark green for our background. But we're not going to paint inside the river. We're only going to paint up to the edge of the river. And this doesn't have to be the strokes like the blended sunset. This can be like little X's or up and down. It doesn't matter because this is where all the bushes and foliage are. Sorry about my voice. It's a little raspy today. It's just been dry air outside. So we're blocking in all of this color right now. We're not doing any details yet. So you're not allowed to judge your painting yet. Just lifting up the edge so I can get those edges around the bottom without painting my entire table. Okay. All right, pretty simple. That was not a hard step. Okay, step 4, we're going to clean our brush and we're going to paint ultramarine blue in the waterway. And then we're going to have blocked all the color in across the whole canvas, and then next we'll work on detail. So we're just going to take some of that deep, beautiful, bright blue And we're going to paint. We don't want to mix it with the green, so kind of make sure your green's a little bit dry before you start this. I would do long strokes with this step rather than, you know, like a messy crisscrossed type of pattern, because it's flowing in a direction. So we want to show that in our brush strokes. And I like to just go kind of around the edges of my paintings. These are panels, so they don't really have an edge much. They're great for framing though. Okay, another easy peasy step. Okay, step 5. Our next step is to take some black paint and we're going to flatten the paint with our brush to get the thinnest part, the thinnest line, because we're going to draw in our lines of the trees. Now, if you've already done this in Sharpie, you pretty much you can see them as black, but we want to make a paint line. So try to keep your hand from moving, and you're just moving your arm back and forth. You're not doing this, okay? You're just moving your arm back and forth. That will make a straighter line. And you can also turn your painting upside down. That makes it easier. It's a little bit closer to you. It'll help you make a straighter line. Got a little bit too much paint on that one, but that's okay. We're going to cover these with so many dots you won't even hardly see it. Yes, do not worry about having to be perfect. This is fun art. This is fun art for beginners and seasoned artists. It's just meant to sit down for an hour or two, relax, and just have fun and not have to stress about anything. So now I'm going in with my brush. I'm going to turn it back just in case that's bugging any of you that I have my painting upside down. But you could have your painting upside down if it helps you to get closer to your trees and make those fine lines. So just follow the Sharpie pen lines that you have. Use a very light touch. That will also help to make a thin line. The more pressure you put, the thicker the line is going to be. I know sometimes people get impatient and they just want to hurry. This is not something that you want to hurry through. If you don't have time to do the painting, pause the video and then come back to a time when you want to relax and enjoy what you're doing. This is definitely enjoying the adventure, you know. It's not so much, I mean, yes, it's the end result of a beautiful painting when you're done, but it's the journey along the way. It is learning to trust the process and maybe learn a new trick, or maybe this will inspire you to start painting again if you haven't painted for a while. I think as adults, if you're an adult watching this, I do have some kids that like painting anything and everything, but if you're an adult watching this, do you paint often? Or when is the last time that you got to play in the paint? I really do have the fun job. Get to do this every day. Okay, so I have all my branches, and I'm going to wipe off my brush before I rinse it and get as much black off of it as I can, because otherwise my water's going to be black. Oops. That happens from time to time. Okay. Now I can rinse it. And see my water, it's kind of a light clear color, but it's not black. If black will saturate your water, and then you'll need to change it because it'll dull your colors if your water is really dirty. Okay, we're going to get our liner brush. Probably get most of the water out of it. And yeah, I don't want water dripping into this part. So you're going to want this part of your canvas to be really dry. So you might want to wait a while, or take a blow dryer and you can blow dry it, just to make sure there isn't any black that's still wet, because otherwise it'll dirty your colors. So we're going to grab some orange, and we're going to grab, like, really load up our brush, because we're going to be dotting. I don't want it to be like that. That's not what I'm talking about. Because a liner brush is very little. Normally, when I use a liner brush, I will turn it in the paint so I can get a real deep point. But what I want to do is I want to scoop up some paint, because I'm going to dot it. So I'm going to dot, not necessarily on the black line, but staggering the dots one after the other. And I want to leave a good amount of paint on here. If it's see-through, you might have too much water on your brush. Now at first, it might seem like it's not going to show up, but trust, it will. So you're leaving a little dab of paint. And this is what is going to make your painting look so cool when it's all done. So we're just dabbing on paint right now. Dot, 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 dot. Follow each branch. And even though there are not branches here, we're going to dot a few colored dots down in this area. And then we'll dot a few up the center, and a few in between the branches, just to fill in that tree. Just a few, not a lot. Okay, so we'll let the orange rest for a minute, rinse it off pretty good. And let's Let's do an ochre color, kind of that deeper autumn. And as you can see, our pattern, we're doing the same thing with this tree. And I'm going to come a little bit lower, even in the area where I don't see a branch, but I'm just kind of doing the same pattern. And then I'm going to do a couple little staggered dots in between the branches where I don't see branches, but it's just kind of that empty space. Maybe even go a little higher in that tree there. And a few down the center trunk. Okay. On to the next color. Now we have some orange and a little kind of a yellowy orange. Now let's go with a complementary color that would be very contrasting. So let's grab some ultramarine blue. I know there's not a lot of blue trees out there, but this is our fantasy painting. We can do what we want. Ooh, that's pretty. Oh, that almost looks metallic on here. That is just gorgeous. Especially under my light. I hope you have good lighting where you're painting, because that can really make a difference. If you have like a dull yellowy light, it could make your painting look bad. So make sure you have either outside light or a nice sunny window or some really good house lighting. And you want to make sure that the paint that you're dotting is really kind of on the tip of your brush. Otherwise you're going to have to, it'll be really long oval shapes. Be careful not to touch the other dots. We're going to go a little bit lower. And in between. Okay. Sorry, I had to stop my video for a second. Coming back now. Where were we? Going in between the branches. You can see my paint dried a little bit there. Okay, let's go ahead and rinse off our brush. Now next to the blue, we'll do the violet tree. Okay, and we're using the darkest part of these colors because then we're going to go lighter and lighter and it's going to look really cool. So I'm just grabbing a good amount of paint on the tip of my brush. And it's going into this blue a little bit. Oh, you know what? We didn't go up the center of the tree with the blue, so I forgot that. So if you did, good job. Whoops, it was a glob. Oh, okay, I'm just going to leave that. That's okay. Try not to do what I just did. Okay, then we're going to just do a few dots underneath the tree. And a few dots in between and on the trunk. I'm going to go back to the blue since I forgot a few little spots going up the tree here. Whoop! Too much on there. Okay, now we're going to do a couple of green trees. So we're going to grab our sap green. Oop, I only have a little bit. I'm going to give myself a little bit more of that. Oh, this is really pretty. When these darker colors dry, and then we put the lighter color as reflection and highlights in the tree, it is just going to pop. It's going to be so pretty. I think you're going to like it. So we're just doing the same thing that we've done on the other branches, and if you notice, each tree kind of has its own little flavor, you know? Each tree has its own design. Like my purple tree looks different than my green tree to me. And try to get in between some of these purple dots. And then we're going to go a little bit lower than the tree. And do some in between the tree and up the front of the trunk. Not in a straight line though. Okay, that's good for the sap green. And we're going to do a bright little tree in the corner here with the spring green. I'm carefully dabbing it in between some of these dark branches that are crisscrossing over my pattern here. You can dab your little staggered dots just right on the branch or back and forth. You just don't want to be like dot 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 straight up the branch. You want it to be on either side of the branches or in front of the branch, but you just want to be careful making too straight of a pattern. Okay, and then we want just a few dots underneath the tree. And a few down the front of the tree. I don't have a lot of space in between my branches, so on this one I don't really, maybe just like a few little dots here and there, but it's pretty tight. So it just depends on your tree. You can kind of feel, you know, if it needs more here or there. Okay, now we're going to block in some of our bushes. So we have this dry here, and we're going to create some rounded shapes. So we're going to take a little bit of black, mix it with our green again. Just to get a nice deep shade of green. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make these little bushes right under where the trees are. So you're using your 1/2 inch or probably the 1/2 inch brush would be good to use, or the 1/4 inch flat brush. I'm actually using the 1/4 inch. I thought I had my 1/2, but this seems to be working fine. and I'm just kind of smushing it around. I'm not making it like a perfect little humps. And then I'm going to bring a couple over in this area. Let's see, those are going to be like that, so this is going to be probably right about like this. And I'll put some down in this area. So we kind of have like 3 levels. It's the same color, so when it dries you might not see it much, much at all. Okay. Okay, and that's it. So go ahead and rinse your brush out. Okay, we're going to create some different greens to dot our bushes with. So we're going to start with the blackish green color that we mixed to begin with. We're going to take a tiny bit of white and mix it in the green and black. So you might need to mix a little bit more of that green and black. And then make sure you don't put a bunch of green and black in your white. So wipe your brush off. And then grab a good amount of white. And we're making it kind of a gray-green color. And mine's really close to this other bright green, and I don't want to mix that yet. I'm going to use that color, but I don't want to mix it just yet. So I have a really nice light medium gray green color. So this is the color that I have here that I'm using. Okay. So when I wipe it off on my towel, that's the color. So it's kind of going to be like a background greenish gray, a little bit lighter than the dark that we have here. I need to grab my brush soap. This is my brush cleaner, and whenever my brushes aren't rinsing off in the water very well, what I like to do is while they're wet, just rub them in this, and it gets into the belly of the brush, and you can see the paint coming off now. So now that I've kind of scrubbed it around in here, I rinse it in my water, and it comes out a lot cleaner. There, now it's just like really clean. Okay, so we're going to clean that brush off and get our liner brush. Get the water out of it. Okay, let's grab some of this light gray green, and we're going to dot it staggered along the top area on the back part of the bush on this side. I would say go all the way under the, could even go a little bit higher, under the blue, and we're going to go under the purple. We'll go under the green tree. And this side's going to have a little different shade of bush here. But this one, okay, now we're going to go all through. Okay, and if you can see where the other little hills, the little bushes were, kind of follow that little hump there. So it's kind of our second, sorry if my head was in the way there. It's our second row of bushes. And then we have some down here. Okay. And then this side, we're going to add just a little bit. So maybe some in the front here. Maybe some in the high back side here. There's a lot of different ways to do this type of painting, but I'm really specifically making it dots rather than like a dry brush. That's another type of painting I'll teach you. Okay, the next green color that we're going to create, we'll use I'm going to use my 1/4 inch brush to mix this color. So I'm going to make kind of a teal color. So I'm going to take a scoop of green and a scoop of ultramarine blue. Okay, that is really pretty. Now I want to lighten it up. So we're going to scoop white, mix that into it. Okay, so I've scooped it all into the center and I keep squishing my brush down, squishing the paint out of it. Okay. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush, grab my liner. Okay, now remember, don't judge your painting yet, because even though we're putting in detail, we still haven't put in the highlights and a lot yet. So we're still dotting. We're still doing dots. Okay. So we are building our bushes. We're going to take our liner brush in the light teal color we just created, and we're going to go on the back side of these bushes. We're going to go kind of into this other bush a little bit. So we have two different colors in this bush. To be careful, I have a little too much paint there on that. Okay, and I'm going across the water. So it looks like the water is running underneath the bushes here. Okay. And this is going to come all the way down in front of this other bush. I think I just touched the brown. And I'm going to bring this around to this little front part right here too. Okay, we're going to have to let this dry for a little bit, or like I said, get your blow dryer and just a nice soft heat. Keep it moving over it. The little globs of paint from all the dots is going to be thick, so it's going to take a little longer to dry. So this might be a good time to maybe take a break, stretch, go for a walk, or get your blow dryer out and try to dry some of it. Okay? Okay, we are going to do one more layer of a lighter green. So we're going to do spring green and ultramarine blue. Okay, and then I'm going to add some white to it. Okay, so we have a nice light teal color that's a little brighter. So we're working in layers and lighter colors, brighter colors. Okay, go ahead and get your round brush. And hopefully you've let this dry or used a blow dryer to really, keep it dry. So the paint it's thick enough where we dotted it on, so it kind of has its own little shape to it. So you don't want to flatten that down and just let it, have that texture and character. So we're still dotting, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some more dots right on top of and in between the dots that we just created over on this side. You see how it's brighter? Some paints will automatically dry darker, so you have to kind of go extra light sometimes. So my paint is dry on the outside, and I can feel that it's still soft on the inside, which is okay because I'm not pressing hard enough to break that seal. And as I let it sit, it will continue to harden on the inside. But I want to make sure that for you, that if you have any thick dots of paint that you've put on here, that they're totally dry to the touch before you start adding more dots. Otherwise you'll have a really blended look. We'll just do a few little dots in this dark area. Not many, just a few little sporadic dots. But we will come all the way down kind of to the edge here. We need to do our blue and our water too. Okay. And then a little bit down in this area. Okay, we've got some good brush and light on these bushes on this side. And then we'll work on some of this side over here. Okay, I've had to let everything really dry for a little bit. I went and had dinner. So now I'm going to finish up our dotted forest. So, I'm getting my headset back on here. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to the bushes that we did with the trees, and we're going to kind of reflect the just in the back right here where the trees are, the colors of the trees. So it's like these leaves from the trees are going to be falling underneath the tree. And then down here we'll do some different flowers. But for right now, we're going to just do little dots of leaves, but it's kind of like it's in the bushes per se. So we're just doing the same color because I wanted to get some of those green bush dots laid in there first before we did the tree dots, because I wanted to get some of this color on top of it, like it's literally fallen on top of the bushes. and then I need to add a little bit more blue, just a little bit more. We don't need much, I just need a few dots. So just a little bit of paint. The paint packets that you have are actually a lot of paint. Okay, and then the violet. This violet is a really dark hue. It actually looks almost black when it's when it's dry. Then we're going to have some really light yellowy green through here, but before we do that, we're going to put some of the dots. It looks like we already have some of the dark green dots through here, so we don't need to do this tree. This one, we'll just do some of the lighter, this brighter green. I might need a few more. Might need a little bit more of this paint. I'm kind of out of this paint on my plate. My plate palette. I'm going to bring this tree like it's the closest one. I'm just going to bring it like all over this area here. I'm going to bring it all the way into this area. Okay. I'm going to bring a little bit more of this orange. I really like this, the brightness of the orange, almost like it's part of the bush. Okay, and then I'm going to mix it with a little bit of this magenta. Give it a little more of a redder, pinky color, like coral. Put some like red flowers over here. Again, just dots. When this dries, it'll be a little bit darker, so we'll have to lighten it up. A little patch of red. Actually, I don't want it there. That's where my rock is. Okay, now let's take some of this. Ooh, don't roll that into there. That's not good. Okay, so we are going to brighten up a couple of our trees here. So we're going to take some lemon yellow and ochre. To brighten that color up a little bit. A little bit more. Okay. So we're going to brighten up our tree. We're going to do almost the exact same thing we did before. And we're going to dot in and on and around the other dots that we did. Maybe not exactly, maybe in between those dots. So I'm proud of you. If you're still with me, that means you have some patience to, to complete all the dotting. But it's fun. It's very soothing. This is a really pretty fall color. There's some little dots up here. Just a couple little ones. Just like some little flyaway branches. And some extra little bright leaves down here on the ground. And by now you should probably feel like the different control you have over some of these dots. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to do some of the orange. And what I'm going to do is we're going to lighten up our orange. So we're going to take a scoop of white right next to this orange. Really lighten it up. That's really pretty. Okay, we'll take our liner brush. And do the same thing we just did to the other tree. Scoop a little bit. So I dropped a couple little leaves in the air falling here, and now I'm going into the bush where maybe the bush's flowers are this color, or it's just the leaves from the tree have just fallen all over this bush and it is covering this bush, and it even goes into the yellow tree a little bit. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to dot next to some of these little flowers, just kind of right next to or on these little red dots, just giving them some of this brighter coral orange. Okay, looking good. And I think we can go all the way back. Let's see. We could do some just magenta flowers back here. And then we'll do some like lighter pink, I guess. Okay, now we're going to make some of our lighter violet. Take a good scoop of white, pull some of our violet out, just a little bit. This is a strong violet color. That's a nice light lavender color there. I like that. Okay, get your liner. To find where my lavender tree is. Okay. So the lavender is here. Even though this looks lavender, that's the ultramarine because it dried right there. So here's our lavender. So part of the lavender is blending into the background where the sunset is, but that's okay. Gives it some continuity here. Okay, now we're going to go underneath the tree. Okay, now let's lighten up some blue. Grab our liner brush. Excuse me. Okay, let's dot in some of this beautiful light blue. Excuse me. Oh, this is really pretty against the in between the yellow and the purple. And with the dark blue underneath it, just really makes this light blue stand out. Really pretty. I'm just kind of dotting up and around the base of the tree also. And now we're going down into the ground. Okay, that's pretty. I like it. Okay, let's try to brighten up some of our greens. We have some teal, and we have some sap green, and we have some of the spring green. So let's take some of this spring green and mix quite a bit of yellow in it to make it a real lime green. Let's see what we can come up with here. Really want our tree colors and the bushes to pop. Okay, so you have a nice little yellowy green color. And then later we might lighten this with white. So we'll start with this. Okay, get your liner brush, rinse it out and tap it dry on your paper towel. Now, I think what I'd like to do is do the lime green against this dark green and then put it under here, and then we'll make it even lighter on this side. So we'll start with this, because this really stands out against this dark tree. Oh yeah, I like this a lot. So this is just having patience and not rushing it. Just a little dabs here and there. Whoop, not a glob. Not a glob. So I could wipe that off if I felt like it was too much. But I think it's okay. So I'm just touching, if you haven't figured out yet how I'm doing this, I'm just touching the paint on the canvas. I'm not pressing into it with my brush, because the brush will go straight through the paint and then make a brush mark. So by just dotting it, I'm just putting enough, I'm loading up my tip of my brush with enough paint, and I'm just lightly dotting and letting that paint come off the brush. I'm not pressing hard into it. Or at least I'm trying not to press hard into it. Okay, I have some wet violet, lavender, purple here, so I'm trying not to get into it. Just find some little naked spots and tap into it like that. Okay, now we're going to bring it down. Actually, I might do a couple more spots right there. Okay. And then we're going to bring it down into the bush area. We'll let this trickle down around the river edge here. that's pretty. I like that. I'm going to get it right on that black line too. I don't want that black line to show. Okay, I like that. I might come back and make a little more of that. We'll see. Okay, now our last tree was the spring green dried. So let's take some yellow. So that was yellow and green. So now we're going to make it even more yellow. Really, really light spring green. And white. More white. Very pale, pale light spring green. It's like key lime pie. Okay, now it's the liner brush's turn to do its magic. And we're going to try some of this lime, bright lime green. Ooh, I think I'm going to like this color. I hope you're able to follow me and mix some of these colors that I'm mixing, because they're really pretty. You should have the same colors in your kit that I'm using. And I have room on this tree, so I'm going in between the leaves a little bit, or in between the branches. It's not too crowded. So I'm really only able to dot about three or four, maybe, yeah, maybe four before I have to reload. Okay, now under this tree we have some of these bright leaves. Okay, now this color is going, because it's so light, it's going to be my highlight. So I'm just going to do on this side of the tree a few little highlight pieces in this color. Just a few. Like the sun is coming from that direction. Okay. Now I want to balance this a little bit because I have very warm and then cool. So with this purple color, I'm going to bring it into this bush over here on this side. So I'm going to do this a little differently. I'm going to take the, I don't want to do the dark purple. I want to do a little lighter, that lighter lavender color first. So I'm going to just put some white right next to my purple. And we're going to pull a little bit more. There we go. So that, bring back that nice lavender color. If you need to make some more, it's a lot of white with a little bit of the violet. So we're going to dab that, even with a little bit of pressure. We're going to kind of dab this in here, kind of smushing it under all this bright leafy stuff. Just giving it some kind of base color here. Still dotting it, but giving pressure with the brush. So letting it kind of smear a little bit so it's not a lifted dot. And I want to leave the dark green rim through here. But I do want to push some of this purple into the green area. So just a few little purple dots here. Okay. So we'll rinse that. We're going to have to let a lot of this dry again, or blow dry it. Okay. We'll go to the other side over here, and we're going to fill in a little bit with some pink. So we're going to take our magenta and more white. So just put like a little squirt or a little scoop of white, and then just barely touch it with some magenta and see what color you come up with. Should get a nice light pink. Okay. So we have some really nice light pink. And And we're going to put those, I would say, under here. Are we going to move them around? Okay, so we're going to make them kind of swirl around the little red dots that you have here. So we take your tip and little swirls. Let it circle around, leaving the red dot in the center. And that should be a dot that's kind of poking up already because we laid the thick color down. It's not red, I think it's the magenta. Because we don't have any red on our plate except for some of the coral colors. It's probably a mix because we've been mixing a lot. And then go in the other direction, so don't do just one direction, do a couple. So you're making like a tight little C, maybe maybe not necessarily a complete O all the way around. But just give a nice little cluster of pink, like they're like little carnations. And then maybe just a few down here that don't have the red dot. Maybe a few up here that don't have the red dot. Okay. And then come to the other side and make some little dots on top of the lavender. I'm getting my cord in here, sorry. Put a few little pink dots through the bottom area here. We're going to add a lot more other colors, but just a few little pinks. And a few little pinks through here. Okay, so we have some nice little light pinks throughout. Now let's work on our water for a little bit and kind of let some of this background stuff dry. So let's take some of our white and put it, I don't have much blue left, so I'm going to see if just mixing the white with the blue that I have left, if that creates a light enough blue for me. No, I don't have enough blue left. So let me create a little bit more, a dot of blue. Blue is pretty strong with white, so just a dot of blue. Okay, well we'll try a few little. Yeah, that's not going to be light enough. Okay, so we'll just try this first. The few little back and forth waves or lines. Kind of lighten up this little dark area here, the rock area. Okay, and we need more white. We want a very reflective light blue color. I don't think I can flatten that brush out enough, so I'm going to have to use my smaller one and squeeze some of the paint out of that one. Okay, using the 1/4 inch flat brush, we're going to grab a little bit of this light blue, and we want to use the thin part of our brush. So we're just going to do some little, like, you're pulling it. You know, adding maybe some reflection. You're dragging it through little ways. Okay, and this is kind of where it starts. It's like a deeper area right here. So this is where it widens, thins out a little bit here. It's more thicker right through here. Now, using, I would say, still your 1/4 inch flat brush, your smaller flat brush, and a little bit of burnt sienna, we're going to mark where our rock is in the center here. And it's okay if they are flat or round rocks. We're going to create some different shapes for them. Just dotting a little bit of the burnt sienna around here because I don't want it to just be the only color you see for the rock, and you don't see that color anywhere else in this little nature scene here. Okay. So we need to let that dry. Now, take your liner brush, leave it a little bit, just wet it in the cup. Don't dry it on your paper towel. And if you have some white, I need to keep mixing all my white away. Some fresh white. So get your brush a little bit wet, touch in the white. And we're going to bring down some of this blue, the lines here. And get it real watery, the white. Okay, so we're going to make our white just very watery. And we're going to make some little squiggly lines. Coming off of this rock here. The water is coming up over this rock, so we're going to let it come down like a diagonal, like a little zigzag right here into this pool. We're going to bunch up a little bit of water right here where it's frothing because it's coming down. It's bunching up right here. Okay, now let's take our liner brush and dip it in the white where it's not, excuse me, where it's thicker and it's not so thinned out. And we'll just put some gentle little lines here. Just kind of some ripples. Or maybe there's another rock underneath, but we can't see it. And where we can kind of see there's a flow of the water. I want this to be a little bit more here. And I want there to be a definite edge to this water coming down. I might put a little bit of blue in this so it's not quite just white. Okay, now I want to go back to just white. Brighten up the splash here that we're getting. Even create a few little dots of water. And go back to my grayish brown that we made. deepen the color of the rock a little bit. The rest of them are good. Okay, we're getting pretty close here. I want to, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. It depends on kind of where your dots ended up in your picture. But I'm going to go in and I'm just going to make my purple kind of a little higher. Just make my bush come up here a little bit higher. I think because the way it looks is it looks as though the green is on top of the purple, and I want the purple to be in front of the green tree. I just got a little green tree happy. Okay, that's good. And then I'll go back and I'll do some lights. But you don't have to do this part unless you feel that, I mean, unless you copied exactly where I was going, unless you feel that way too. Okay, now I'm going to do some little, let's see. I want to do some lupine flowers. So lupine is tall, it's like little tall, skinny flowers that have a lot of little blossoms on them. So I'm just tapping it all the way up, making kind of two rows of flowers going up with this one color here. I might do a couple different colors because lupine flowers come in a lot of different colors, which makes it fun for painting. And then I'll take a little bit of white and mix it with my violet, or my lavender, I guess, that I was just using. And then I'm going to go over this. See where I did it, you might not even be able to see it because it's so dark. It's blending into the green. So with the white mixed with the lavender, you can see it a lot better. And it kind of goes with the theme of what we're doing. But having those deeper base colors behind it gives it depth and texture, and it gives it a good form because you can see the darker color, you know, inside of it, like these trees. Ooh, that feels so good. It's all dry now and hard. I love that feeling. Actual physical paint where you can feel it. It's not just 2D and flat. Okay, and then I might do some pink. A little pink lupine. I'm going to do 3 rows of the pink. We'll do one right next to this purple one. Like it's almost behind it. And just do like a little baby one starting here. Might do one back here. I'm just very lightly using the tip of my brush. You can only see, like, that's That's how much paint I have on it. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush and I'm going to grab some orange. The deeper color. And I'm just going to do like some little, kind of like these circles, but just the orange by itself, just like a little dot of a little daisy flower or something. And then we'll go back in and add some more color to it in a minute. They're like a little orange poppy. And we're going to give them black centers. It's like I have to get a little scoop of orange for every every flower that I'm doing. I'm just going to put a couple little orange dots as though just some little buds were coming up. So they're not all just big flowers. Okay, rinse your brush. Dry it off on the towel and then grab a dot of black on the tip of your liner brush and just dot it in the center of our poppies. Even though they're not dry yet, you should be able to dot some black if your brush is dry. So I live in California, and California poppy is our state flower. And I thought that all California poppies were orange, but there are hundreds of different colored poppies and styles of poppy. There's a place called the Carlsbad Flower Fields, and it is just, it's like miles of flowers. It's the most gorgeous thing. If you ever had a chance to come to San Diego, you should see it. Okay, some of my orange is disappearing, but you can definitely see the black standing out in that orange. Okay, now clean your brush, dry it off. Let's grab some of that bright yellow, the lemon yellow. We're going to make like some long side marks, like they're kind of like little yellow, I don't know, tulips or something. And I'm going to put a couple, whoops, it's getting thick. Hold on, I need to get some water on that. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my light purple and fill in some of my bushes that I have up here that I was trying to make a little bigger. And we'll also dot some of the little pink flowers that we have in here, put them back in. So these little pink flowers are growing up right up inside this bush that has the purple flowers on it. Okay, I'm going to fill in some of this here with just some light little blue like little bluebells. Okay, now I'm also, since I have the blue out here, I just dip my brush in orange, that wasn't smart. I'm going to use the blue to create a sunny highlight right across the top part of this tree, right through here. I'm going to do it with all the trees with their lightest color. We're going to brighten it up, but this is a lighter blue, so I'm going to just touch the tree on one side at the very top, just where the sun is hitting it. And I'll just drop a couple of these little light light leaves down. Okay, now on our middle green here, let's take some white and mix it with our middle green. See if we can get a paler green. So I'm mixing this middle green with white. And I'm kind of rolling my brush in it to get some of that. I don't want too much paint on my brush. Just grab a tip, the tip, and see, is this very bright? No, it's not really any brighter than what I have on there. Okay, so we could take more white and do just a little edge of the green here to make it a very like a white green color. Sorry, I can't mix it very well holding the plate. So it looks almost white. Okay. Now our yellowy green, we can do the same thing to that. I have a little bit of yellow left here with this light green. So we'll make it real lemony yellow green. We'll test it. I would say mix some white with it. Make it a little brighter. Nope, still needs more white. It's almost like the yellow is overwhelming the white. Sometimes I get too much paint in my brush and it gets too fat. There, that's good. It's about as light as I can get that yellowy green color. It's like dotting on frosting on a cake. Okay. Then we have the ochre yellow tree, which is like our little autumn yellow. Just adding in a little bit more yellow, kind of crowding the orange tree a little bit, just to fill it in. Not necessarily with the lighter color. I left the lighter color at the very, very top. Okay, now the orange. Let's see what kind of light orange we can make here. Just going to put a few little dots of white in the orange and the yellow tree, as though they are just getting pure white sunlight. The orange, yeah, the orange is a little too strong for the white. Okay, and now to do some lavender highlights. We need a lot more white with that one. So dot, dot, dot. And I think I'm going to add a little light coming through, like to this side here. Okay, I'm going to pull this back so I can take a look at it away from me for a minute. Okay, I'm going to put some of my regular lavender into the green tree a little bit because the green tree is overwhelming the lavender tree. Okay, let me look at that now. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay, and then the blue tree actually needs to go in front of the yellow tree a little bit more. I still want to be able to see the yellow tree, but a little bit more of the blue. I hope it doesn't mess it up by using the light blue because that's all I have left on my palette. So I'm kind of making this light more on this one side of the blue. I think the blue just looks really pretty against the yellow next to it. Okay, now I'm going to grab the light warm gray-green and I'm going to just make some lines. Just some little lines of things that attach to some of these little, you know, the little yellow flowers, the things in front. And then I'm going to do that over here. Just kind of try not to go on top of the rocks. Just little grasses. And then we're going to do micro dots of your lightest color. So if you have white, use white. I have pink, so I'm going to use just some little pink, it's like the little mountain, you know, grassy flowers that you see, the little tiny stuff. And just dot that all along the bottom flowery area. Like those are the little ground flowers. And we have a lot of these little ground flowers along the edge of the water on both sides. And I'm not going in a straight line, I'm going up and down, I'm staggering staggering where I have the dots, maybe put 2 or 3 in one spot and then go to another little area. Just gives a little bit of interest and detail. So I'm stopping at this line right here because this is going into this taller bush. So I don't want to put the little dots because these little dots are the ones that are on the foreground. And this starts getting up into the middle ground. Same with this side. I'm not putting the dots too far into this tree or this bush area. So just in between some of these flowers, little dots, and then along the waterway and back here. Yeah, that's good. And you can keep going with detail. If this is your painting, if you want to do that, you can. I think we are really, really close to being finished. Okay, so this is where I'm going to say, take a look all around your painting. Maybe lift it up and hold it back, you know, from where you are. See how it looks. See if there's anything that looks like out of balance. If you need to add more dots in an area, or I don't know. It's mostly dots. It's pretty simple. I like our water that we have here. I like the edge of our water. There's a little bit of brown that got into this, so I'm going to just kind of touch the edge of the water here. That's fine. And then when it's all dry, then it's time to sign it. Okay, you can use your liner brush in one of the colors. You can use the mini Sharpie that I gave you if you have a kit. You can use a paint pen if you have paint pens. So however you choose to sign your name is fine. There's so much detail through here, and we kind of have this flatter area right here. I would say to sign it in this area would probably be the best spot, but usually it's in the bottom right or left corner. You can also put it on the back, but this is your masterpiece, so I would put it in the front. So I'm going to go ahead and sign. Pink mud. And I'm going to go over it once more so it's a little more opaque. Okay. I've enjoyed painting this with you. I think it turned out fabulous. I hope that you love your painting, and I would be honored if you took a picture and posted it on our website, on our Facebook page, Pink Mud Art Studio, or tag Pink Mud Art Studio, and give us a picture of you with your painting would be cool too. So whatever you choose, and thank you again for painting with Pink Mud Art Studio. Have a very blessed day.